Davos 2025, Trump unveils ambitious economic agenda amid global uncertainty. On January 23, 2025, Donald Trump delivered a virtual address at the World Economic Forum WEF in Davos, Switzerland, marking a significant moment in his political resurgence as he settled into his new term as President of the United States. His speech set forth an ambitious economic agenda that aimed to position the U.S. as a global leader in job creation and business growth amidst a backdrop of global economic uncertainty and geopolitical tension. Economic growth and deregulation. In his address, Trump emphasized his administration's commitment to deregulation, asserting that under the Trump administration there will be no better place on earth to create jobs, build factories, or grow a company than right here in the good old USA. He outlined plans to reduce the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15% for U.S.-produced goods and announced executive orders intended to loosen restrictions in the energy sector, claiming this would spur economic activity and innovation. The president highlighted his administration's largest deregulation campaign in history, aiming to create an environment conducive to business development. This rhetoric resonated with business leaders at the forum, many of whom expressed optimism about the potential for growth under Trump's policies. A survey by the National Federation of Independent Business revealed that small business optimism had reached its highest level since 2018, reflecting a surge in economic confidence among U.S. enterprises. Concerns over tariffs and protectionism. However, Trump's proposed tariffs and protectionist policies raised concerns among international leaders and economists. The potential for a trade war, particularly with China, dominated discussions at Davos. Notably, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala urged a cautious approach, advocating for dialogue over confrontation. Okonjo-Iweala emphasized the importance of maintaining calm as the policies were enacted, warning that history shows tariff wars benefit no one. While some economists predicted a short-term boost in growth due to deregulation and tax cuts, there was widespread agreement that rising inflation would likely accompany these moves. A staggering 94% of chief economists surveyed expected inflation rates to increase under Trump's administration, highlighting the delicate balance between growth and economic stability. Geopolitical implications. On the geopolitical front, leaders voiced concerns regarding the implications of Trump's policies for international relations, particularly within NATO and U.S.-China dynamics. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the necessity for the U.S. to maintain strong alliances, with Zelensky warning that Europe could not afford to be sidelined in global priorities. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine also featured prominently in discussions, with Zelensky calling for proactive U.S. engagement in European security matters. He expressed apprehension about whether Trump would prioritize NATO and European institutions, emphasizing that Europe needs to compete for its place on the global stage. Climate goals and environmental concerns. Climate change emerged as another critical theme at the forum. European leaders reaffirmed their commitment to the European Green Deal, expressing concern over the potential rollback of environmental regulations in the U.S. under Trump's leadership. They called for unity in pursuing climate objectives, notwithstanding the competitive pressures posed by U.S. policies. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo and French Minister of Industry and Energy Marc Ferracci underscored the need for Europe to remain steadfast in its climate goals despite uncertainty stemming from U.S. policy shifts. Their comments reflected a broader consensus among European leaders about the importance of maintaining focus on sustainability in the face of economic competition. Immigration and labor market concerns. As Trump began implementing stricter immigration policies, concerns arose regarding the potential impact on labor markets both in the U.S. and neighboring countries. Officials from Mexico and Honduras warned that U.S. tariffs could lead to job losses and economic instability in their countries. Honduran Minister of Investment Miguel Medina noted that while some countries might benefit from shifts in manufacturing, the ramifications for Mexico could be severe, potentially resulting in massive unemployment. global cooperation amidst uncertainty. Overall, Davos 2025 highlighted a complex interplay between Trump's economic ambitions, geopolitical considerations, and the pressing need for global cooperation to address shared challenges. While Trump's agenda sparked optimism among business leaders, significant concerns about inflation, trade tensions, and geopolitical stability underscored the uncertainties facing the global economy in the coming years. In conclusion, the discussions at Davos reflect a critical moment in global economic policy, with Trump's return to the White House promising significant changes. The forum served as a reminder of the interconnectedness of global economies and the necessity for collaboration in navigating the challenges that lie ahead. As leaders continue to grapple with the implications of Trump's policies on trade, climate, and international relations, the path forward remains fraught with both opportunity and risk. The content from Davos 2025 presents several counterintuitive insights regarding Donald Trump's ambitious economic agenda amid global uncertainty. Here are some of the most striking points that diverge from conventional expectations. 1. Tariffs and economic growth. While tariffs are typically viewed as harmful to economic growth due to their inflationary effects and potential to stifle international trade, some economists at Davos suggested that they could lead to temporary boosts in specific industries. This perspective counters the broadly held belief that tariffs universally harm economic performance. For instance, while 94% of chief economists expect inflation to increase under Trump's administration due to tariffs, there remains a notion that the tariffs could be negotiated and might not significantly disrupt overall global trade. 2. Bipartisan optimism about crypto. Despite the polarized political environment surrounding cryptocurrencies, many industry leaders expressed optimism regarding the potential for regulatory clarity and support under a Trump-led administration. This is counterintuitive because one might expect increased scrutiny or opposition from regulatory bodies, particularly in light of past criticisms of cryptocurrency. Instead, figures in the crypto industry view Trump's pro-business stance as a potential boon, suggesting a possible shift toward greater acceptance and integration of digital assets in the economy. 3. Immigration policies and labor markets. The expectation might be that stricter immigration policies would harm labor markets, particularly in sectors reliant on immigrant labor. However, discussions at Davos indicated that neighboring countries like Honduras could benefit economically as companies look to relocate production due to tariffs on Mexico. This presents a counterintuitive scenario where a restrictive policy in one country could inadvertently lead to economic opportunity in another, challenging the idea that immigration restrictions are solely detrimental. 4. European reactions to U.S. deregulation. Traditionally, European leaders have been wary of U.S. deregulation as it poses competitive threats to their markets and standards. However, there was an acknowledgement among European leaders that they need to rethink their regulatory frameworks to enhance competitiveness against the U.S. This suggests a shift in strategy that counters the expectation that Europe would remain steadfastly protective of its regulatory standards regardless of U.S. moves. 5. Trade imbalance and respect. Trump's assertion that the U.S. would demand respect from other nations while also engaging in international trade reflects a nuanced understanding of diplomacy and economic relations. The conventional wisdom often suggests that protectionist policies isolate countries. But Trump's stance implies that he believes tariffs can be a negotiating tool rather than a barrier. This reflects a complex view of international trade that contrasts with the typical narrative of isolationist policies leading to economic downturns. 6. Geopolitical alliances and U.S. leadership. The expectation might be that Trump's protectionist and unilateral approach would alienate allies, yet leaders like German Chancellor Olaf Scholz emphasized the importance of maintaining strong U.S.-European alliances despite concerns about Trump's foreign policy. This suggests a resilience within international relations that challenges the assumption that protectionism will lead to isolation. 7. Climate goals amid competitive pressures. Despite concerns about the rollback of environmental regulations under Trump, European leaders reiterated their commitment to the European Green Deal. This reveals a counterintuitive dynamic where competitive pressures stemming from U.S. policies could actually galvanize European unity and commitment to climate goals, rather than fragmenting their efforts. These insights illustrate a complex interplay of economic, political, and social dimensions that defy straightforward interpretations. The discussions at Davos 2025 highlight a landscape where traditional economic theories and geopolitical assumptions are being challenged by real-world dynamics under Trump's administration. The report on Davos 2025 reveals several significant themes and insights that may be overlooked by many readers. Here are some key content points and their implications. 1. Impact of corporate tax rate reduction. Trump's proposal to reduce the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15% for U.S.-produced goods is significant. While it is presented as a pro-business initiative, it also raises questions about how this move aligns with global tax agreements such as the Global Corporate Minimum Tax Deal established in 2023. By withdrawing from this agreement, the U.S. risks creating a tax haven scenario, potentially igniting tax competition among countries. This could lead to a race to the bottom in corporate tax rates, undermining global efforts to ensure fair taxation and address corporate tax evasion. 2. Deregulation and environmental concerns. Trump's emphasis on deregulation, especially in the energy sector, poses a threat to environmental sustainability. European leaders expressed concerns about potential rollbacks of U.S. environmental regulations, which could have ripple effects on global climate initiatives. This tension highlights the conflicting priorities between economic growth and environmental stewardship, which could influence international cooperation on climate goals. 3. Geopolitical ramifications of tariff policies. The discussions surrounding tariffs and protectionism, particularly Trump's willingness to impose tariffs on China and other nations, underscore the complexities of global trade dynamics. While some leaders exhibit cautious optimism about the potential for negotiated trade solutions, the historical precedent of tariff wars suggests that such measures often do more harm than good. The potential for increased inflation, as noted by chief economists, can further destabilize economies relying on trade. This highlights the need for strategic diplomacy rather than unilateral economic measures. 4. Labor market implications of immigration policies. Trump's plans for stricter immigration policies could have profound implications for labor markets not only in the U.S. but also in neighboring countries like Mexico and Honduras. As manufacturing shifts due to tariffs, there could be significant job losses in Mexico, exacerbating regional instability. This aspect of the discussion emphasizes the interconnectedness of immigration, trade, and economic stability, which is often overlooked in favor of more immediate economic concerns. 5. Technological innovation and economic growth. The role of technological innovation, particularly regarding artificial intelligence (AI) and energy production, is central to Trump's economic agenda. Leaders highlighted the necessity of increasing energy production to support technological advancements. However, this raises questions about the sustainability of such growth and the potential environmental costs associated with increased energy consumption. The emphasis on technology without addressing the underlying environmental impact is a significant point that may escape attention. 6. Global cooperation amid national interests. The discussions at Davos highlighted a shift towards prioritizing national interests, as noted by various leaders. The notion of the era of sovereignty indicates a growing tendency for countries to adopt inward-looking policies at the expense of global cooperation. This shift can complicate the collaborative efforts needed to address pressing global challenges such as climate change and economic inequality, which require multilateral approaches. 7. Optimism in the cryptocurrency sector. Trump's potential support for cryptocurrency and a pro-business environment is noteworthy. The optimism expressed by cryptocurrency firms and leaders indicates a significant shift in the financial landscape. However, this enthusiasm should be tempered by the need for regulatory clarity to ensure consumer protection and prevent market volatility. The juxtaposition of enthusiasm for innovation against the necessity of regulation is a critical tension in the evolving financial sector. 8. Reactions from global leaders. The responses from leaders like Olaf Scholz and Volodymyr Zelensky regarding U.S. foreign policy and its implications for NATO and European security are crucial. Their insistence on maintaining strong alliances reflects the broader geopolitical implications of Trump's policies. As nations navigate the complexities of international relations, the commitment to collective security and economic stability will be tested. In summary, the report from Davos 2025 encapsulates a multifaceted discussion on economic, geopolitical, and environmental issues. The significant content that many may overlook revolves around the interconnectedness of these themes and the long-term implications of Trump's policies on global cooperation, economic stability, and environmental sustainability. Understanding these dynamics is essential for grasping the complexities of the current global landscape and the future trajectory of international relations and economic policies. Key points for in-depth analysis and discussion. 1. Trump's economic agenda, deregulation and tax cuts. Donald Trump's virtual address at Davos 2025 prominently featured his administration's commitment to deregulation and a significant reduction in the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%. This strategy is framed as an effort to foster a pro-business environment, with Trump asserting that the U.S. would be the premier location for job creation and economic growth. The implications of such tax cuts and deregulation warrant thorough analysis, particularly in assessing their potential to stimulate economic activity versus the risks they pose, such as exacerbating inflation. Economists project that while certain industries may benefit in the short term, the broader economic landscape could experience increased inflationary pressures, with 94% of chief economists forecasting rising rates under Trump's policies. This discussion could delve into historical precedents of tax cuts and deregulation, their outcomes, and how they might inform current expectations. 2. Global trade dynamics and tariff policies. A significant concern arising from Trump's return to power is the potential for heightened trade tensions, particularly with China. Despite Trump's assertion of fostering better relationships, his proposed tariffs and protectionist policies have elicited cautious responses from global leaders and economists. Discussions at Davos highlighted the complexity of these trade dynamics, with calls for cautious optimism regarding the implementation of tariffs. The historical context of tariff wars and their generally negative impact on global trade is critical for understanding possible outcomes. Furthermore, the economic implications of these tariffs, including short-term boosts versus long-term repercussions for innovation and job creation, are essential points for discussion. The balance between protecting domestic industries and fostering international trade relationships underpins the broader economic dialogue at this forum. 3. Geopolitical implications and alliance stability. The geopolitical landscape is intricately linked to Trump's economic policies, particularly in relation to NATO and U.S.-China relations. Key leaders, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, emphasized the necessity for the U.S. to maintain strong alliances, especially in light of current global conflicts and security concerns. Zelensky's remarks underscore a critical tension: the perception that Europe may be sidelined in U.S. foreign policy priorities. This situation calls for an examination of how Trump's administration might navigate these alliances, particularly in relation to European security and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The potential for U.S. foreign policy to influence global stability and security dynamics presents a fertile ground for in-depth analysis, particularly in the context of evolving geopolitical alliances and the implications of a potentially isolationist U.S. stance. 4. Climate policy and environmental regulation. Trump's plans signal a potential rollback of environmental regulations, contrasting sharply with European leaders' commitments to climate goals under the European Green Deal. This divergence raises critical questions about the future of global climate cooperation and competition. European leaders articulated their determination to maintain climate objectives despite competitive pressures from U.S. policies. The discussion could explore the ramifications of the U.S. stepping back from its climate commitments, particularly its implications for global climate initiatives and the potential for a fragmented approach to environmental policy. The intersection of economic competition and environmental responsibility is increasingly relevant in the discourse surrounding international relations and sustainability, and it invites a deeper examination of the strategies that nations might employ to reconcile these often conflicting objectives. These 4 points encapsulate the multifaceted discussions at Davos 2025, reflecting the complexities of Trump's economic agenda amid global uncertainty. Each theme presents a variety of avenues for further exploration, analysis, and debate. Particularly given the interconnectedness of economic, geopolitical, and environmental issues in shaping the future landscape. 1. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act 1930. This U.S. legislation raised tariffs on hundreds of imports in an attempt to protect American industry during the Great Depression. The act led to retaliatory tariffs from other countries, resulting in a significant decline in international trade and worsening the economic situation globally. Economists widely criticized the act for exacerbating the economic downturn and contributing to the global economic crisis of the 1930s. 2. The return of protectionism in the 1980s. During the 1980s, many countries, particularly in the West, began to adopt protectionist policies in response to global competition and economic challenges. The U.S. imposed tariffs on Japanese cars and other imports to protect its domestic industries, leading to tensions in U.S.-Japan relations. This period saw a rise in trade barriers and a shift towards more nationalist economic policies, which sparked debates about the long-term impacts on global trade dynamics. 3. Brexit 2016. The United Kingdom's decision to leave the European Union marked a significant shift in trade and economic policy. Advocates of Brexit argued for the ability to create independent trade agreements and control immigration, similar to themes presented by Trump at Davos. However, the move raised concerns about potential trade barriers with EU countries' economic instability and the implications for global supply chains. The economic ramifications of Brexit continue to shape discussions around nationalism and protectionism in global trade. In the wake of the World Economic Forum (WEF) in Davos 2025, Donald Trump's return to the presidency has ignited a wave of predictions regarding the future of the global economy, trade policies, and geopolitical dynamics. His ambitious economic agenda, marked by aggressive deregulation and a focus on job creation in the U.S., promises to reshape both domestic and international landscapes. Economic growth and deregulation. Trump's administration aims to reinvigorate the U.S. economy by reducing the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%, specifically for goods produced in the U.S. This tax reduction is projected to stimulate investment and job creation. Business leaders buoyed by Trump's pro-business stance have expressed optimism, with the National Federation of Independent Business reporting a surge in small business confidence. However, economists are divided. While some foresee short-term growth from deregulation, nearly all anticipate rising inflation as a consequence of these policies. Trade policies and tariffs. Trump's return heralds a potential shift in trade dynamics, particularly concerning tariffs. His administration is expected to adopt a more protectionist stance, which may lead to increased tariffs on imports from major economies, notably China, Canada, and Mexico. This has raised concerns among global leaders about the risks of a trade war, with many advocating for dialogue and negotiation instead. While tariffs could provide temporary protection for some U.S. industries, experts warn they may not foster the desired long-term job growth or innovation. Geopolitical implications. The geopolitical landscape is also set to undergo significant changes. Leaders from Europe and beyond are urging the U.S. to maintain robust alliances, especially in light of ongoing regional conflicts such as the war in Ukraine. The emphasis on US-European cooperation is critical as European leaders seek to ensure their security interests are prioritized alongside US policies. Trump's foreign policy approach may lead to a re-evaluation of NATO's role in US-China relations, with analysts predicting that his personal rapport with Xi Jinping could influence future negotiations. Climate goals and environmental regulations. Environmental issues remain at the forefront of discussions, particularly concerning the US's commitment to climate goals. European leaders are reinforcing their dedication to the European Green Deal while expressing apprehension about potential rollbacks of environmental regulations in the US under Trump's leadership. The competition between US deregulation and European environmental standards could result in a complex dynamic where both sides must navigate their respective goals while addressing global climate challenges. Immigration and labor markets. Trump's stricter immigration policies are anticipated to impact labor markets significantly, potentially creating labor shortages in the US and affecting neighboring countries like Mexico and Honduras, as companies seek to relocate manufacturing to avoid tariffs. Economic instability in these countries could lead to increased migration pressures. This situation calls for a comprehensive approach to immigration that balances economic needs with humanitarian considerations. Future economic outlook. Looking ahead, the global economic outlook remains uncertain. While some economists predict a positive impact from Trump's policies, many caution that rising inflation and trade tensions could destabilize the economy. The potential for increased government debt and a focus on national interests could lead to fragmented global cooperation, complicating efforts to address shared challenges such as climate change and technological innovation. Technological innovation. Technological advancements, particularly in artificial intelligence (AI) and clean technology, are seen as crucial drivers of future growth. Experts emphasize the need for the US to invest in these areas to maintain competitiveness. However, the success of such initiatives will depend on the government's ability to create a conducive regulatory environment that encourages innovation while also addressing the risks of economic fragmentation. Conclusion. The events at Davos 2025 encapsulate a complex interplay of economic ambition, geopolitical considerations, and the urgent need for global cooperation. Trump's ambitious economic agenda has sparked optimism among business leaders, yet significant concerns about inflation, trade tensions, and geopolitical stability underscore the uncertainties facing the global economy. As nations navigate these challenges, the focus will likely shift towards building resilient partnerships and fostering innovation to address the intricacies of the evolving global landscape.